Hello guys, welcome to the Sleepy Theorist, where dreams drift deep and science sinks softly into the dark. Tonight, we're not chasing stars or unraveling galaxies. Tonight, we fall gently, endlessly into the coldest, quietest part of our own world. Not into space, but down. Past the waves, touched by sunlight. Past the twilight where strange creatures blink like floating lanterns. Past the pressure that would flatten a submarine in seconds. We're going somewhere no human can survive. The Hadal Zone, 7 miles beneath the surface. A place untouched by light, where the water itself becomes a wall, where bones would fail and sound moves like thought. But this isn't a tale of terror. This is a journey into stillness, where the earth hums softly beneath your feet and life continues in forms older than memory. So, if your eyelids grow heavy, let them. But if a part of you wants to stay awake, just a little longer, to understand what waits in the deepest dark, I'll be right here, like if the pressure feels gentle. Subscribe for more quiet truths, and tell me what time is it where you are tonight. Let's begin with the breath. Before the descent, the surface is still. The wind brushes your cheek with soft salt. The sun warms your skin like a silent invitation. Above you, the sky stretches wide, calm, pale blue, unbothered. The sea reflects it back, a mirror gently trembling. You float there at the edge between breath and water, between the known and the hidden. You close your eyes and take in one last breath, steady, full, deep. That breath will be your last taste of air before surrendering to a world without it. It's not fear you feel, it's reverence. The ocean doesn't invite lightly, but today it opens. Today it allows you in. You exhale and then you slip beneath. At first, it's gentle. The world muffles. The light shimmers through the water in long ribbons, breaking into kaleidoscopic scatter. Your body becomes weightless, suspended in a world with no floor, no roof, only motion. Schools of tiny fish dart past your vision, blinking silver in the sun's filtered touch. They move with the precision of dancers, each flick a note in an underwater song. You can still see the surface above, a liquid ceiling. The sunlight plays there, turning everything golden. It's beautiful, but it begins to feel far away. Begin your descent, slowly, carefully. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets. The sea is not silent, not truly. It pulses with hidden sound. But here, it is the silence of the world holding its breath. As you pass 10 meters, the colors begin to change. Red disappears first, then orange, then yellow fades, dissolving into dull olive. Only the blues remain, clinging to your skin in shades that deepen with every stroke downward. The pressure begins to build. It doesn't crush, not yet, but you feel it, a subtle squeeze around your ribs, a whisper in your ears. It is the ocean placing its hands on you, reminding you, you are not made for this place. And yet, you are here, still descending. You cross the thermocline. A sudden shiver moves across your body. It's like stepping through a doorway into a colder world. Above the thermocline, the water was touched by sun. Below it, the ocean keeps its own secrets, darker, older, undisturbed. You feel your heartbeat echo a little louder in your chest. Every breath through your regulator is a slow draw, like the ocean is breathing you in return. The seafloor is nowhere in sight. You are surrounded by gradients of blue, each one darker than the last. The light is thinner here, more like memory than presence. You see a jellyfish drifting beside you, its dome glowing with faint pulses, each one like a heartbeat suspended in slow time. Its tentacles trail like threads of silk, brushing the invisible. It moves with no urgency, only rhythm. You descend past 30 meters. Here, life changes. The coral is sparse now, retreating to higher, warmer realms. Creatures become leaner, stranger. Their eyes are bigger, adjusted for dimness. Some don't have eyes at all, just feelers, light organs, and instinct. You begin to understand, in this place, survival is not about speed or power. It's about softness, adaptation. You hear the gentle click of a distant dolphin, faint and filtered. Sound travels far underwater, but loses shape. Here, the dolphin's call feels like a ghost, distant and timeless. Your own body begins to feel different. You move slower now, not out of fatigue, but in tune with the deep. Your limbs respond not to urgency, but to the current itself. Each motion is thoughtful, efficient. You become a part of the water, not separate from it. Even your thoughts begin to stretch, slow down, align. Down here, there is no place for rushing. You reach 50 meters. The colors around you have drained into silvers and shadows. You shine a small torch forward, and it catches particles suspended. In the water plankton, fragments of marine snow, tiny lives drifting endlessly. They float like stars, like snowfall, like dust in a cathedral of water. You are in a holy space, and the silence is its hymn. You feel small, but not in a way that frightens you. It comforts you. The ocean is older than anything you've ever known. It has held storms and sunlight, bones and birth, whole worlds and their endings. And now it holds you. You drift downward, past 60 meters. You begin to notice how the water doesn't just fill space, it becomes it. There is no outside here. You are inside a living, fluid memory, being gently unmade and reimagined. Pressure increases. Your lungs adjust again. But it's not pain. It's permission, a reminder. This journey must be slow. The ocean does not reveal itself to the hurried. You pass strange formations, rock ledges cloaked in sponge, delicate fans swaying like slow flames, and deep black sea urchins nestled into shadowed nooks. A slender eel watches you pass. You do not disturb it. At 70 meters, it's as though time has taken a step back. Light no longer guides you. You are led by instinct now. Your torch cuts a narrow path, but around it, darkness reigns. Not empty darkness, full darkness. Alive with things your eyes can't see, but your skin begins to sense. You are shedding the last pieces of the world above. You think of gravity, of weight, of sky. None of those things belong here. Here, there is only drift, and presence, and the knowledge that you are far from where humans were meant to be, and yet closer to something elemental. You reach 80 meters. Here, fish no longer swim, they glide. They appear and vanish, fading into shadow without a sound. Some emit their own light faint pulses, soft glows. They look at you with eyes that never expected to see you. You are an anomaly, a visitor, a flicker of sunlight in their endless dusk. You realize you haven't looked up in a while. When you do, the surface is gone, not just distant, invisible. There is no trace of where you began. You have become fully submerged, not just in water, but in experience. The descent is no longer physical. It is now emotional, philosophical. You are descending into wonder. At 90 meters, you feel weightless in a different way. Not from the water, but from the surrender. The ocean doesn't hold you up. It lets you fall in slow motion. And in that falling, you learn something sacred. Stillness is not the absence of movement, it's the presence of harmony. Every meter down is a page turning in a book written before language. You feel your heartbeat slow, your mind open. Everything softens. You reach 100 meters. Now, you are fully beyond the reach of sunlight. This is the edge of the twilight zone, the mesopelagic, where only faintest traces of light remain, where pressure becomes a steady hand, where silence grows deeper than thought. You pause, you hover, you breathe, and you realize you are ready to go deeper. You are ready to enter the true dark, where the light fades completely and the pressure begins to rise. You move downward as the brightness softens behind you and begins to vanish without warning or farewell. The rays that once painted golden trails across your back are no longer present. They retreat quickly, afraid of the cold that waits below. The warm familiarity of surface water begins to feel like a dream you already forgot. Nothing calls you back. You continue through a blue that thickens into velvet. Above, the colors once glowed like stained glass. Here, they bleed together until even color itself seems to dissolve. Your eyes search for something to hold on to, but the sea offers no anchor. Around you, everything is liquid drift. You are suspended in a volume too deep for boundaries. You feel no edges. There is only motion and shadow and slow unfolding silence. The world begins to contract and expand all at once. Time feels liquid. It does not pass, it slides. Pressure, once gentle, becomes deliberate. It does not press hard, but it is there, with you in every breath. It surrounds without touch and enters without resistance. Your chest does not rise the way it used to. The rhythm slows. Even thoughts seem slower now. The sea has its own tempo. You are adjusting to its breath. Every moment unfolds like a drop spreading through oil. Gravity is still with you, but it no longer feels like a force. It feels like a suggestion. Your limbs no longer swim, they drift. You let the water carry what you no longer need to control. In this place, effort fades, intention remains. You see particles floating all around. They do not move on their own. They follow the current with no will, and yet with complete purpose. They glow faintly, sometimes not from within, but by the small light your presence brings. The water itself begins to reflect nothing. It drinks every ray you bring with you. Even artificial light does not travel far. It bleeds out quickly, like ink disappearing into cloth. Shapes become uncertain. Distance is an idea, not a measurement, not a measurement. Nothing feels close, yet everything surrounds. Your depth increases, but depth is not just measurement anymore. It is sensation. The space around you becomes thicker, not with weight, but with awareness. You do not feel fear. You feel attention. The ocean is not watching you. It is simply there, present in a way that demands your own presence in return. You remember breathing air. Now each breath feels like an offering. Your body becomes aware of every intake and release. There is no sound except what you bring. A faint exhale, a pulse. The sea responds with silence that is not empty. It is full of things you cannot hear. You realize that sound here is not gone. It is hidden, buried under layers of density, traveling slowly, changing shape. Even the sounds your body makes are swallowed quickly. Your heartbeat is something you feel, more than hear. Your mind tries to stretch, but the space holds it still, not through resistance, but through absorption. Creatures move past you in patterns that seem accidental, but are not. Nothing here is wasted. No motion is without meaning. You see a shape flicker in the corner of your vision. Then another, soft movements like breaths in the water. Some glow faintly in strange patterns, not bright, not showy, just enough to be known. This is not a place for display. It is a place for persistence, for adaptation, for making do with what cannot be changed. You pass a form that seems translucent. It pulses slowly like a muscle remembering something ancient. You do not follow it. You simply witness it and allow it to remain unmeasured. The temperature continues to fall, but not sharply. It glides down with you like a curtain being drawn across a window. What remains of surface warmth fades behind your back. You cannot feel the drop all at once. You sense it in your joints, in the way your fingers curl, in the way your thoughts settle. The cold here is not violent. It is deep. It is not trying to chase you away. It is simply not pretending to be warm. You accept it. You stop resisting it. Your muscles soften. You are not fighting the descent anymore. You are participating. There is no map here, no trail, no sound of orientation. Your body becomes the compass. You rely on feel, on memory, on subtle cues that were never designed for navigation. There is no sun to show direction, no shadow to define angles. Everything is equal in silence. Your direction is inward now more than downward. With every meter, you unlearn something. The need to name, the desire to mark progress, the idea that movement must have purpose. You move because you are moving. That is enough. Light has not disappeared. It has changed form. What remains now is borrowed, some from distant creatures, some from your own devices. But it does not behave the same. It does not scatter wide. It hugs closely to its source and then gives up. The darkness is not thick. It is patient. It waits for your eyes to stop demanding answers. It waits for you to stop reaching. Then it begins to reveal what you were too loud to notice before. Faint lines, subtle shifts, a glow that could be life, or thought, or memory. You are aware of the water pressing gently into every fold of your suit. It does not rush. It does not squeeze. It becomes part of you. It does not try to replace your shape. It reminds you that shape is only what the environment allows. Here, boundaries are flexible. Definitions soften. What is solid becomes fluid. What was obvious becomes abstract. You are still yourself, but a quieter version. One that listens more than speaks. One that drifts more than demands. You see something in the distance that does not move. A stillness more complete than the background. It could be a fish. It could be a shadow. It could be both. You do not need to name it. You allow it to exist without category. Your mind releases the need to hold. You begin to understand that not everything here is meant to be understood. Some things are only meant to be felt. Pressure continues to increase. It is constant. It does not announce itself, but it accumulates. It builds like time passing, like age growing. Not sudden, not violent, just certain. You are now far below the world where lungs were designed to function, and yet you remain. Your body adapts in small ways. You feel smaller, but not diminished. You feel contained, focused, like the deep is trimming away everything that is not essential. The descent is no longer about reaching a destination. It is about meeting the sea on its terms. You no longer carry surface expectations. You no longer compare. The ocean does not reflect you. It absorbs, it holds. It teaches without voice. Its lessons are slow, gentle, permanent. You feel a vibration through the water. Not sound, not motion. A signal. The sea is alive in ways that cannot be charted. The darkness hums with signals that do not require words. You are not the only listener. Everything down here listens. The fish, the water, even the minerals. Listening is survival. Listening is life. You pass a veil of creatures so thin they are almost invisible. Their movements are synchronized without effort. They part as you pass, not in fear. In accommodation, you are not intruding. You are noticed. That is all. You begin to realize that your presence is small, not insignificant, just humble. You are not a threat. You are not a center. You are one more moving particle in the deep. The pressure continues to grow. It does not feel like weight. It feels like inclusion. The sea is not trying to crush you. It is trying to make space for you. By changing you, slowly, kindly, unrelentingly. And now you enter the twilight world, where colors no longer name themselves, where shapes become poetry, where movement is silence, where seeing is not required, where pressure is not danger. It is simply the price of being here, and you keep going. You drift through a realm where the sea forgets what light once meant. The water no longer glows, but sighs with a cool hush that wraps around your skin like the memory of a touch. You have entered the mesopelagic zone, a space not made for eyes, but for senses without name. Here, sunlight no longer reaches. Only the faintest glimmers trickle down like threads from a forgotten sky, thin and uncertain. You do not chase brightness. Anymore, you learn to see what does not want to be seen. The water turns a darker blue, heavy with stillness. The silence here is not an absence. It is an architecture. It has shape and substance. Every sound you make folds back into you. Your breath feels slower. Your limbs move with a grace you did not know you had. Everything you do becomes deliberate. The sea does not rush. It waits. It watches. It invites you to match its patience. Shapes begin to appear, not clearly, not quickly, but like ideas taking form in shadow. Some move, others hover, some pulse, others shimmer. This world is stitched together by things that glow without flame. Creatures blink with lights that pulse in rhythm. Not random, not decorative. These are signals, languages, survival. A fish the size of your hand flickers with rows of soft blue. Along its belly, another flashes, a sudden red, just before it vanishes into the dark. You understand nothing, and yet everything. This is not chaos, it is conversation. You begin to notice the strange symmetry of these beings. Long bodies with photophores aligned like city lights along empty highways. Mouths curved into soft arcs. Eyes wide but unseeing in any human sense. They sense pressure. They read movement. They detect fields that hum beneath your awareness. You are not here to observe. You are here to participate in a world that does not care what you name it. The temperature continues to fall. You feel it in the stillness of your core. Not cold like winter, cold like time. The kind that slows everything until movement becomes meditation. You float not because the sea holds you up, but because gravity seems to forget you exist. The idea of up and down becomes thin. There is only deeper or quieter. Particles drift around you like stars in slow orbit. They carry pieces of the world above, bits of plankton, silt cells, memory. This marine snow falls without end, nourishing creatures below that will never see the surface. You trail your hand through it gently. It parts and closes without resistance. You leave no trace. This is a world without footprints. A large shape moves past in the distance. It has no glow, no sound, only the suggestion of mass. You do not follow. You respect its direction. Everything here operates by intuition, not dominance. You learn to feel the presence of beings before they reveal themselves. Your awareness expands. You begin to understand that knowledge here does not come from vision. It comes from stillness. You pass beneath a school of squid, their tentacles, coiled like questions waiting for answers. They shift colors in slow waves, blues into greens into dark, not for beauty, for speech, for blending, for warning. One glides close, its eyes dark and deep. It looks not at you, but through you. It flicks away in a single motion, vanishing into folds of fluid shadow. The pressure continues to grow, not sharply, not loudly, just persistently, like a thought that keeps returning. Your body responds with silence. Your joints hold steady. Your heartbeat accepts the rhythm. Your breath becomes smaller but not strained. You are learning how to live here, not just visit. You notice that life here does not move without reason. Every motion is calculated. Energy is precious. Food is scarce. You begin to see how restraint becomes a form of intelligence. A slow glide instead of a chase. A flick instead of a lunge. These creatures do not waste. They do not perform. They survive by not being seen. Faint trails of light curved through the distance. You follow them with your eyes. They lead nowhere. They vanish. You are reminded that most things down here do not offer conclusions. They suggest. They hint. They ask you to let go of certainty. The twilight world is not one of answers. It is a world of quiet curiosity. You pass a jelly-like creature suspended in stillness. It does not swim. It waits. Its body is nearly transparent. You see organs drifting inside it like loose knots of thread. It pulses with faint blue at regular intervals. You realize it is alive, not because it moves, but because it persists. Its fragility is not weakness. It is mastery of this depth. There is no scent, no air, no echo. The water becomes denser, not with weight, but with presence. Every moment feels full. You begin to sense patterns in the current swirls, spirals, edges of something larger than your field of view, not creatures, not structures, just flow. The ocean breathes in shapes you cannot name. You pass through a slow curtain of organisms that barely qualify as shapes, threads, filaments, dots. Some blink, others stretch. They are not decorations, they are systems. They belong. You feel like you are passing through the strands of something. Intelligent, not sentient, just intricate. Thoughtful in design, perfect in adaptation. You begin to lose the need to return. The deeper you go, the less the surface matters. The world above becomes conceptual. You remember it like a story someone else told. Air, sunlight, trees, words, all feel far away. Here, communication is quiet. Existence is enough. Motion is meaning. Light is breath. You move alongside a fish that seems made of glass. Its organs reflect light like mirrors. It hovers without effort. It exists without apology. It does not look at you. It does not flee. You are not important. That knowledge frees you. You are no longer the observer. You are part of the scene. The sea here is not empty. It is composed of things that do not seek your attention. They do not glow for you. They do not dance for you. They glow because they must. They move because they must. Your role is to listen, to witness, to disappear. You realize how loud your thoughts once were, how often you filled silence with words. Here, the ocean does not speak in noise. It speaks in contrast, in motion, in presence, and it teaches by not answering, by not clarifying, by not showing the whole. You begin to admire how these creatures live in such scarcity with such elegance. Their bodies shaped by pressure, their habits sculpted by darkness. Nothing here is wasted. You are surrounded by efficiency, born not of technology, but of patience. Even the darkness teaches. It hides, but it also reveals. It strips away distraction. It shows you what remains when nothing can be seen. You begin to recognize silhouettes. The curve of a fin, the blink of a signal, the suggestion of a tail moving just beyond reach. You are now deep enough that no surface light remains. only the light life makes for itself. You feel a kind of reverence for that glow. It is not decoration. It is resistance. It is how these beings say, I am here, without shouting. You do not want to ascend. You do not want to disturb this balance. But the sea is still calling you deeper. Below this quiet, glimmering realm lies a darkness more complete. A world where light is no longer a tool but a rarity. Where bones soften. Where eyes disappear. The twilight world ends soon. What comes next has no color. And still you go. The water no longer shimmers. It no longer suggests. It simply surrounds. You have crossed into the midnight zone, a space without light, without reflection, without horizon. This place does not remember the sun. It has never heard birdsong or felt the rhythm of rain on its surface. Here, existence is carved out of absence. You do not see darkness. You are held by it. Your breath slows further. Each inhale feels like a negotiation. The pressure is steady now, like an ancient presence resting gently on your chest. You are not crushed. You are shaped. Your body is learning how to belong in a world that does not wait for you. Your eyes adjust, not by seeing more, but by learning to expect less. The idea of vision fades. In its place rises awareness. Around you, life continues. Not in abundance, not in chaos. In quiet, in forms too still to be noticed, unless you already know they are there. Long-bodied animals drift with no spine. Their movement comes from the ocean itself. They do not resist it. They become it. Ribbons of soft tissue curl and uncurl in slow pulses. Some creatures move without direction, floating on deep currents that have never touched land. The sea here is heavy with stillness. It does not sleep. It waits. Every molecule carries a memory. You feel it in your bones. A kind of echo, as if something ancient once passed through here and never truly left. The silence is complete, not because sound is absent, but because everything that could make noise has chosen not to. Bioluminescence becomes rare. A faint green dot flickers ahead, then disappears. A thin thread of blue arcs through the water, like a vein across an unseen skin. These signals are soft, brief, purposeful. There is no performance here, only function. To glow is to survive. To glow is to be known just long enough to eat or escape, then vanish. You pass a creature that looks like a shadow turned liquid. Its shape is undefined, more suggestion than structure. It does not flee, it does not acknowledge. It exists beyond concern. You move past it as if through smoke. Behind you, the water folds itself closed. No trace, no trail. The floor beneath. You is not visible. You have long stopped seeking it. Distance no longer holds meaning. Time becomes the only measure, and even that grows soft around the edges. Your sense of movement is internal. You drift not through space, but through presence. Every meter deeper is a breath you might have never taken before. Every breath now feels like something borrowed. Your heartbeat becomes a companion. It reminds you that you are still here, that the pressure has not taken you, that the sea has not forgotten you. You feel it echo in your ribs, soft and persistent. A rhythm that does not belong here, but refuses to leave. You pass through a corridor of cold, so complete it feels metallic. Your skin does not shiver, it listens. Temperature is no longer discomfort, it is instruction. The body learns without complaint. The mind follows slowly, dragging its memories behind like seaweed caught in the current. You see a cluster of beings that do not resemble anything you remember. Thin spines arranged like geometry suspended in water. Small sacs glowing with faint pulses. translucent layers that move independently of the body that holds them. Their direction is unclear, their intention irrelevant. You do not categorize, you allow. Nothing here hurries. Movement takes energy. Decisions must be slow. Hunger is a lifetime. Reproduction is an event. Every twitch is calculated. You begin to admire the patience, the elegance of delay. Up above, life burns fast. Here it burns long. You think of the world you left behind, its noise, its color, its urgency. All of it feels fictional, invented. Here, the truth is simpler. Pressure, cold, silence, drift. A fish glides past with jaws too large for its body. Its teeth curve backward. Its eyes are barely present. It does not hunt by sight. It waits. It senses. It strikes only when certainty arrives. The deeper you go, the fewer creatures you see. But each one feels deliberate, designed, not by an artist, but by necessity. Nothing here is beautiful in a way you once understood. It is beautiful in its purpose, in its resilience, in its refusal to vanish. The pressure has increased. You feel it not as force, but as presence. Like walking into a cathedral where the air itself is history. Your limbs move with care, not from fear, from reverence. You no longer swim, you flow. The sea moves you because it must, because it can. You come across a field of thin organisms rising from the sediment like glass reeds. They do not bend. They shimmer faintly when touched by your light. You do not touch them. You pass carefully. They seem fragile, sacred, unseen to most. You realize you are the guest here, not the explorer, not the observer, just passing through. The silence deepens. You had not known it could, but it does. The absence becomes layered. You hear your thoughts, not because they are loud, because everything else is quiet. You begin to lose language, not forget, just let go. Words are heavy. They do not travel well through this density. You descend further. A slow creature with fins like silk fans hovers below. It does not move. It waits. It has been waiting. For what? You cannot guess. It does not matter. Its waiting is complete. It is not suffering. It is existing. That is enough. You begin to understand the difference between empty and full. This darkness is full. It holds memories, systems, patterns. It holds life without pride, complexity without chaos. It holds the possibility of more, always more, even when nothing appears. You feel your lungs accept the compression. Your muscles find their rhythm. Your heart stops asking questions. Your presence becomes simpler. You are no longer measuring depth. You are measuring experience. You see a field of organisms suspended like snowflakes, frozen in place. Each one unique, each one pulsing. They are not attached to anything. They are not moving. Yet they exist. They remain. You move through them with care. They close around you again as you pass. Nothing resists. Nothing reacts. Everything absorbs. The water thickens, not in substance, in silence. You feel it around your ears, in your throat, not choking, holding, not pushing, surrounding. The sea is no longer something you are in. It is something you are part of. You pass near a creature that emits no light, no sound, no movement. Its body blends completely with the blackness. You see it only because you stopped trying. You stopped searching. Then it appeared. Some things only exist when you stop needing them to. You think of time again. You do not know how long you have been descending. It could be hours. It could be seconds. The body measures in beats. The sea measures in centuries. You are out of sync, and yet somehow at peace. The ocean floor remains distant. You are not close, but you are closer. The space grows heavier, not with water, with meaning. Every second is a kind of arrival. Every movement is a kind of surrender. You understand now that the midnight zone does not welcome. It does not threaten. It does not teach. It allows. It opens. It receives what survives. It releases what does not. And just below this stillness waits a place colder than cold, a world where bones are soft and eyes are gone, where life becomes shape without form. And you are still going, you hover in darkness deeper than dreams, where the world forgets what air ever felt like. Above, light and color are myths. Below, silence reigns not as absence, but as rule. This is the bathypelagic, a realm where life adapts not by resisting pressure, but by becoming it. Here, creatures are not built for survival, they are made from it. Their existence is a soft defiance. Their strength lies in surrender. The pressure surrounding you is immense. It presses from every direction. It holds you steady, not through violence, but through sheer certainty. You are no longer falling. You are suspended. Everything you are is being reshaped by what surrounds you. It does not feel like compression. It feels like absorption. Your body has stopped resisting. It listens now. It learns. It yields. You pass a creature shaped like a ribbon folded in slow motion. Its body bends gently, without spine or anchor. Its skin is translucent, showing organs that shimmer with fluid. It moves by pulsing, not swimming, like thought traveling through water. It does not flee when you're near. It adjusts. It curls, then stretches, like seaweed responding to a shift in tide. Its design is not armored. It is soft, and yet it is unbroken. Pressure has not defeated it. It has defined it. Further on, you spot a fish with a head too large and a body too small. Its jaw dangles like a broken hinge. Teeth curve inward. Its eyes are reduced to glassy hints of former purpose. It does not need to see. It waits. It responds to vibrations, chemicals, currents. It does not chase. It remains. And when the moment comes, it acts with precision that needs no sight. There is no urgency, only readiness. Another form rises from below, a gelatinous being with a bell-shaped dome and curling tentacles like wet threads. It does not move quickly. It contracts and releases, staying mostly in place. Its shape shifts as though it forgets what it once was. It has no skeleton, no scales, no resistance, yet it persists in a place where force touches every inch. It does not fight the pressure. It flows through it. It lets the ocean shape it, then returns to its form. The creatures you meet here are not armored in bone or shell. They do not wear strength on the outside. They survive by bending. They endure by yielding. Muscles are soft. Skins are thin. Some dissolve when removed from this environment. Their existence is conditional. Their strength is contextual. Take them away from the deep and they vanish. But here they are perfect. You pass by a deep-sea amphipod, its legs thin as thread, body curled in on itself. Its shell is not rigid. It flexes. It accepts pressure into its joints, its limbs, its breath. You realize that survival here means allowing the environment to enter you, not keeping it out. Resistance wastes energy. Submission saves it. Strength is not the ability to withstand force. It is the capacity to disappear within it. Some creatures generate chemicals to stabilize their cell membranes. Without this, the pressure would crush them from the inside. Others allow water to replace parts of their tissue, becoming indistinguishable from the sea around them. A fish glides past with no swim bladder. It does not need one. Its flesh is gel-like, already balanced. It does not rise or fall. It exists exactly where it must. You find yourself marveling not at their beauty, but at their logic. Every adaptation is precise, every detail earned, no flourish, no waste. They do not wish to be more than what they are. They are complete in their limitations. They teach you that survival does not mean dominating your surroundings. It means becoming indistinguishable. From them, you glide near a cluster of sea cucumbers drifting just above the seafloor. Their bodies undulate without skeleton or muscle. They absorb nutrients from the falling snow of the upper ocean. They move without urgency. Their shape is fluid. Their presence is gentle. They are not slow because they lack speed. They are slow because speed is unnecessary. You encounter a fish with skin like smoke. It fades at the edges. You cannot tell where it begins or ends. It does not hide through camouflage. It becomes the absence. Its organs drift in loose formation, tethered by strands of connective tissue. It is more idea than body, and yet it lives, it feeds, it reproduces, it endures. You see another creature that glows from within, not bright, a soft pink pulsing behind layers of skin. This glow is not for you. It is not for beauty. It is a signal, a lure, a warning. It means something specific. It means something ancient. It means survival. Bioluminescence here is a language. It is not spectacle. It is necessity. You notice that many of these beings have large mouths, proportionally enormous compared to their bodies. This is not gluttony. It is efficiency. Food is rare. Opportunities are few. When a chance appears, it must be taken completely. Nothing can be missed. The deep does not allow second tries. A shrimp-like form passes near, trailing long antennae that sweep in slow arcs. It does not see, it senses. It builds a map from vibrations. It knows when something larger passes by. It knows when a current shifts. Its world is not visual, it is kinetic. It moves through feeling. Pressure here has become more than a force. It is a sculptor. Every body you see carries its fingerprint. Nothing resists. Everything reshapes. You begin to feel that even thought itself must change here. It becomes quieter, slower, denser. You stop questioning. You begin absorbing. Understanding flows not through knowledge, but through witness. The water thickens with memory. You feel the age of this place, not in years, in form, in quiet perfection. Every being you see has been honed through failures you'll never know. What remains is what works. What survives is what softens. You glide above the sediment and watch a creature burrow without limbs. Its body folds inward. It disappears into the earth. No drama, no sound, only disappearance. You are left with nothing to observe, only the knowledge that something was here. You feel the ocean pressing deeper into your awareness, not to hurt, to shape. It is asking nothing. It is offering presence. It is reminding you that even in darkness, even under weight, life not only continues, it thrives. But it does so by surrendering to what is. You float past a sphere of jelly lit by faint pulses. It is almost still. It exists entirely in its own rhythm. It is soft beyond measure. You think it might burst from a breath. And yet it has survived. Here longer than many surface creatures ever will. Its delicacy is its protection. Nothing tries to eat it. Nothing tries to catch it. It is too soft to be useful, so it remains. You think of all the ways life above hardens itself, builds walls, grows armor, draws lines. Here, none of that works. Hardness breaks. Rigidity shatters. Only what flows can remain. Only what bends can endure. The creatures of this depth are not weak. They are beyond strength. They are beyond fear. Your body has begun to feel different. Lighter inside despite the crushing weight outside. You feel more spacious, as if the ocean has carved out a room within you, not to fill, just to make space. Space for quiet. Space for knowing, without explanation. You pass another being shaped like a spiral. Its body coils in on itself, spinning slowly in place. It does not move forward. It does not chase. It waits. You begin to understand that waiting is not stillness. It is motion without destination. It is purpose without noise. The sea holds you gently now. It no longer feels foreign. You are becoming something else, not transformed, just translated into the language of softness, the dialect of patience, the grammar of giving in. And just beyond this quiet congregation lies a landscape not of creatures but of mountains underwater, where the earth folds itself in silence and the bones of the world speak. You drift lower until the sea begins to change again. The water grows heavier, though your body does not feel the shift. The change is quiet, almost ceremonial. Light is long gone, and even the flickers of life are fewer now. The bottom is near, but it does not arrive all at once. It rises slowly, like a memory forming beneath you without warning. The abyssal plain welcomes you not with spectacle, but with vastness. It stretches in every direction, flat and dark, like an unrolled thought. The seafloor is not lifeless. It is steady, quiet, alive in ways that require stillness to notice. You float above soft sediment, the powder of 1,000,000 years of marine snow resting in silence. Each particle holds a story from a surface it will never see again. A flake of plankton, a fragment of shell, a speck of carbon lost from a forgotten storm. Everything that falls is kept, nothing leaves. Here, the earth's crust is close to your body. Beneath the soft cover of dust lies rock, dark, solid, ancient. It breathes, but not as lungs do. It moves, but not with speed. The tectonic plates shift with patience that only the planet understands. It understands. You are floating above a living seam, where continents meet and diverge, where heat from the center of the world whispers through cracks you cannot see. The ground here is not always flat. At times it lifts, ripples, splits. You see a long ridge, where the ocean floor has folded upon itself. It runs for miles, like a scar across the seafloor. This is no accident. It is structure. It is rhythm in stone. It tells you that even the deep follows patterns. You may not hear them, but you feel them. You sense their truth in the stillness. A sudden slope draws your attention. A trench begins. Its walls descend like the open mouth of the earth, but you do not enter it yet. You remain above the plain, listening. The silence is not empty. It contains pressure, vibration, the low drumbeat of moving plates. It is the kind of sound that cannot be heard, only known. You feel it in your ribs, in your breath. The planet is speaking in tones too slow for language. You pass over a vent in the seafloor where heat seeps out in thin trails. No flame, no light, just warmth that curls upward like a ghost. The water here is slightly clearer, warmer in a way your skin can barely sense. This heat is not from sunlight. It is from the Earth's core, a reminder that under all this water, the world remains alive. Fragments of rock surround the vent. They look broken, misplaced. But they belong here. They were made here. Pressure and temperature carve the crust from within. You begin to understand that geology is not fixed. It moves. It speaks in folds, in cracks, in eruptions, too slow for eyes but too certain to be. Denied, the creatures here are few, but they exist. A slow-moving sea star with arms like petals slides across the silt. Its motion is deliberate, rhythmic. It leaves no trail. A worm rises slightly from the sediment, tasting the current for signs of decay, for the promise of something to consume. Nothing is wasted. Even in this silence, life waits for what falls. A small octopus, pale and nearly featureless, folds itself into a depression in the floor. It does not need color. It does not need speed. It needs only stillness, shape, quiet. Its presence is not decoration. It is necessity. It becomes part of the landscape without effort. You notice now that the floor beneath you is not silent after. It creaks. It shifts. It releases small puffs of gas, slow sighs from deep inside. You imagine the earth exhaling in its sleep. You wonder how long it has been doing this, and how long it will continue. Beneath the water, beneath the sediment, beneath the stone, something burns, something turns. You cannot see it, but it is there. It moves everything. In places, the seafloor is covered with manganese nodules round black stones that form over millions of years around fragments of shell or bone. They grow not by intention, but by accumulation. Time shapes them. Pressure hardens them. They are neither alive nor dead, but they belong to this place in a way few things can. You pick one up. It feels heavy, older than memory. You let it go. It sinks with no resistance, returning to the floor as if it had never left. You float above cracks so deep they disappear into darkness. These are not scars. They are expressions. The earth stretches here. It adjusts. You realize that the planet beneath the ocean is not passive. It is active. It is not background. It is body. Its movements shape countenance, raise mountains, trigger waves. Its shifts create the space in which life must adapt. You begin to feel awe, not for what is alive, but for what allows life. The rock, the pressure, the heat, none of them breathe, but all of them matter. Without their quiet labor, nothing above could move, grow, sing. The ocean rests on their shoulders. You float on their persistence. You pass a fault line. The two sides do not match. They were not meant to. They grind slowly, inching past one. Another with a patience so complete it feels like stillness. But they move, and when they do, the world listens. Earthquakes begin here, far from human ears. They rise like ancient stories told without words. You feel the pull of the trench nearby. Its depth is a silence within a silence. But for now, you stay above. You remain where the planet folds itself in thought. You begin to understand the deep is not a separate world. It is the root of all worlds. The surface is only its latest invention. The animals here do not build. They do not decorate. They do not announce. They simply continue. They reflect the world around them by being shaped by it. Their existence is not loud. It is profound. The plain stretches on, featureless yet full. Every rise is a signal. Every drop is a story. You pass a ridge where sediment has piled like soft snow. Beneath it lies a hidden history, storms from long ago, bones from forgotten species, remnants of a planet in constant revision. You realize the seafloor is not static. It records, it remembers, it carries everything. The stillness becomes a companion, not heavy, not dull, just steady. You breathe more slowly. You think less in words and more in shapes. You feel less like a visitor and more like something translated into this language of depth. You pass one more crack. It glows faintly from within, a sign of heat, of movement. You do not fear it. You respect it. The earth is alive, and you are, floating over its skin. And just beyond this calm landscape, The trench begins to open wide, a mouth of stone that never speaks, a silence deeper than silence, and you are ready to enter. The flat sea floor begins to tilt beneath you. The world changes its posture. Ahead, the ground vanishes into a vast and silent drop, a descent so steep it feels as though the earth has opened its lips in silence. This is not a crack. It is a mouth wide, ancient, and wordless. The trench yawns before you, and you drift toward its edge with breath that slows as the water deepens. The Mariana Trench lies ahead. Its walls rise like stone cathedrals, but inverted, descending instead of reaching. You hover at its threshold, suspended above a fall deeper than Everest is tall. There is no sound, no shift in current, only the knowledge that below you lies something untouched, unread, unlit. You begin to descend, not quickly, not willingly, but inevitably. The walls come into view. They rise on both sides of you, steep and shadowless, cloaked in sediment so fine it hangs like mist in water. These are not cliffs, they are boundaries. The trench narrows your world, removes the illusion of escape. You are in a hallway that leads downward without end. Every meter brings silence deeper into your chest. Your heartbeat slows again, not from fear, but reverence. The pressure increases, folding against you from every angle. You do not resist, you follow. The trench is not hostile. It does not care. It does not close behind you. It simply continues. It invites only those willing to be small. Small fish flicker along the walls. Their movements are slow, deliberate. They do not dart, they drift. Their eyes are reduced. Some have none. They find their way by following gradients, tiny changes in temperature, in pressure, in salt. Here, direction is not forward or back. It is deeper or still. You pass a sponge anchored to a wall, large and pale, its shape like an ear listening to a language too slow to speak aloud. Around it, no sound escapes. No creature hurries. The trench does not allow suddenness. Even the passing of your body seems to take longer here. A slope of debris tumbles down one wall, stopped halfway as though time forgot to finish its work. You float past, watching stones that haven't moved in centuries hold their shape without tension. They are not stacked. They are resting. Gravity here is heavier. Motion takes effort. So nothing moves unless it must. The trench deepens. The color of the water is no longer blue, not even black. It is something else, a shade made from silence. You cannot name it. You do not try. Words grow thinner down here. Even thought changes. Shape, sentences collapse into feeling. Meaning drifts like sediment in a current. A crinoid with arms like lace stretches from a ledge. Its body sways without wind. It feeds on whatever the water offers, no more. Its patience feels eternal. Not because it lives long, because it expects nothing quickly. Its stillness teaches you something about survival you cannot learn from motion. You descend past ledges that look like ruins. Pillars of stone, not carved, but cracked. They lean into the trench like leaning trees caught in slow collapse. Wonder what lies within those spaces, what creatures nest inside, what lives depend on the stillness. The walls have stories. They do not tell them, they hold them. Somewhere far above, tectonic plates push against each other, creating the trenches. Shape. But down here, that violence is invisible. You are in the result, not the act. The trench holds the evidence, not the cause. Its depth is the memory of motion, fossilized into silence. A translucent eel winds along a crack in the wall. It glows. Faintly, not for show, but for function. Its light is its map, its law, its voice. It does not speak. It signals. And when it vanishes into a hole too narrow to follow, you feel not loss, but wonder. Some mysteries do not want discovery, they want distance. You pass a patch of sediment that shifts beneath a thin cloud of disturbed dust. Something was there. Something moved. But the shape is gone now. You do not chase it. You let the absence settle. In this place, even the vanishing is part of the story. The trench is not straight. It twists, folds, narrows. Sometimes the walls press close around you. Sometimes they fall away and leave you suspended in nothing. You pass over a pit so wide it feels like sky, yet no stars hang above. Only weight, only depth. A jellyfish rises in front of you, glowing softly with pale blue rings. Its body is barely visible. It does not flee. It does not flee. It lets you pass, then continues upward or sideways. Or perhaps it remains still and only the water moves around it. Direction no longer holds meaning, only presence. You realize your sense of self has thinned. You no longer think of the surface. You no longer wonder how deep you've gone. Depth is no longer a measurement. It is a state of being. The trench is not a place beneath the ocean. It is a way the ocean dreams of its own body. You brush close to a crustacean with spines like frost. It folds into a crevice before you can see its face. It does not trust light. Even the soft beam you carry feels intrusive. You dim it, and the darkness returns with relief. This place is not yours. It never was. You feel the water grow colder. Not freezing, just indifferent. The kind of cold that does not sting. It ignores you. It continues. Your limbs feel slower now. Your thoughts softer. You are no longer visiting. You are becoming part of the quiet. Stone walls rise on either side, taller than anything you've ever seen. You are not at the bottom yet, but you feel it approaching. Not as a flaw, as a presence, a gravity without name. The trench is not pulling you, it is welcoming you, as if it has waited a long time to be seen. You pass a black sea cucumber walking on tiny legs. Its body curves gently, its path unclear. It leaves no mark. Its pace is so slow you cannot tell if it's moving at all. Yet it survives. That is enough. You drift lower. The trench opens wider. Its mouth does not close. It continues downward, folding again and again like thought collapsing into itself. The weight above you becomes story. The space around you becomes belief. You do not fall, you surrender. And then, far below, almost out of sight, the floor appears. Not all at once. Not suddenly, like a memory returning. It gathers shape. It becomes real. You do not reach for it. You wait. The deepest known point is near now, a place where pressure becomes presence, where silence becomes sacred and life still dares to exist. You are nearing the quietest place on earth. Beneath your body lies the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest known part of the ocean, a place so removed from surface life that even memory does not reach here. The water no longer feels like water. It feels like something denser, like thought slowed into substance. You do not move, you are carried. Everything you are is being held by a silence that predates language. The bottom is not flat. It is uneven, shaped by slow collapses and ancient landslides. The seafloor here is not solid. It is soft with silt, dusted with particles that fell over millions of years, each one a remnant of a life that bloomed far. Above, the weight of the entire ocean presses down over 1,000 times the pressure of the air you once breathed. Steel would bend, glass would break, but the deep does not break. It endures. You drift above a slight rise, a shelf of rock pushed upward by unseen forces. It is here, at nearly 11,000 meters below sea level. that you reach the place known as Challenger Deep. There is no marker, no sign, no line drawn in stone. Just depth, just presence, just stillness so complete it wraps around you like a second skin, and yet despite the weight, despite the dark life exists. A small amphipod, ghost-like and nearly transparent, swims past your faceplate. Its body flickers with motion, too delicate to measure. It has no pigment. It needs none. Its organs are visible, floating inside a membrane like mist inside a droplet. It lives without light. It feeds on what drifts down. It survives because it asks for nothing more than what is offered. Nearby, a sea cucumber glides along the sediment. It arches its body slightly, its form soft and loose. Its pace is not slow. It is exact. It moves only when needed. It does not search. It receives. Its life depends on patience. You begin to realize that down here, movement is expensive, and stillness is a kind of wealth. Tiny holotherians cluster in small pockets of silt. They feed quietly, drawing nutrients from the detritus that settles like snow. There are no predators here, no sudden escapes. Everything that lives has learned to stretch time. A single meal may last days. A single act may define a life. A snailfish moves in the distance. You can barely see its outline, pale, boneless, shaped like a whisper. It swims without urgency, barely disturbing the water. Its body is built for pressure, its cells filled with compounds that prevent collapse. It does not resist the weight. Around it, it cooperates. It has no scales, no defenses, no need to rush. It exists exactly as the trench allows. You notice how quiet the water feels, even more than before. The trench floor does not echo. It absorbs. There is no current, no wind, no tide. Only stillness pressed against your skin. Every sound from your own body feels loud, your breath, your pulse, the quiet hum of machinery. But nothing answers. The world around you listens without reacting. Particles fall constantly, too small to see, but they are always descending. Each one carries a trace of the surface, a piece of algae, a fragment of shell, a carbon molecule once breathed by a tree. The deep ocean eats these memories slowly. It digests the past with infinite care. You reach toward the floor, but stop before touching it. Something about this place feels sacred, not because it is protected, but because it is complete. Your presence changes nothing. Your observation leaves no mark. The trench does not react. It continues. The rocks here are ancient. Some are shaped like folded paper, others like melted statues. Pressure forms them. Time perfects them. They do not break. They adjust. Some are scarred by past slides, past shifts in the plates above. These movements are slow but permanent. The trench does not forget. You shine a narrow light across the sediment and watch as the beam fades into darkness within meters. The water drinks it. Nothing reflects. Vision here is more feeling than seeing. You do not need your eyes. You need your awareness. You need your stillness. A small jelly floats upward, its body trembling with gentle contractions. It is barely a presence, a suggestion. It disappears without resistance. Nothing here fights gravity. Nothing tries to escape. Life has learned not to climb, but to rest. Somewhere nearby, the earth releases heat through vents too small to see. Chemosynthetic microbes bloom in invisible clusters, feeding on hydrogen sulfide, thriving where photosynthesis has never reached. These organisms do not need light. They grow from chemical exchange, turning poison into energy. You realize that life does not depend on sun, on warmth, on air. It depends only on transformation. You marvel at the simplicity, the elegance, Everything here exists with so little, and yet nothing is missing. These beings are not waiting for something better. They are complete within their boundaries. You see a worm, long and thread-thin, weaving through the silt. It does not burrow. It glides just above the surface, leaving no mark. You follow its path and realize there are dozens more, faint trails crossing one another like the memories of movement. The floor undulates gently. It is not flat. It curves, breathes, tilts. You imagine the weight pressing from above, the cold rising from below. Between those two forces, life still finds room. You feel it in your chest, not awe, but kinship, not fear, but respect. You remember that humans have only visited this place a handful of times. No city has ever come here. No wind has stirred its soil. No voice has echoed across its floor. It is not forgotten. It is untouched. Its solitude is not emptiness. It is completeness. You pause, suspended just meters above the deepest known point on Earth. You let yourself feel it, the pressure, the silence, the presence of things that live without needing to be seen. You are not important here. You are simply one more creature passing through, and yet something in you shifts. Something softens. You understand now that the trench does not challenge you. It reveals you. It holds up a mirror made of weight, of time, of distance. And in that reflection, you see that existence is not measured by movement, not counted by sound. It is felt in stillness. And when you rise again, when you begin your journey upward, you will carry this depth with you. Not in memory, but in muscle. Not as knowledge, but as change. For now, you float. And just above, in shadows yet unexplored, lies a question as old as breath. How does life persist in places where light has never fallen? You are about to find out. You drift slowly upward from Challenger Deep. Not rushing, not rising, just letting the water carry you through its own quiet rhythm. The trench fades behind you, but the silence remains. What lies ahead is no less mysterious. If anything, it hums with a different kind of wonder. For here, in this darkness, life does something astonishing. It thrives without the sun. You were taught to believe that light is necessary, that all life traces its breath back to the sun's fire, that every green leaf, every moving body, every beating heart depends on sunlight filtered through chlorophyll. But this part of the ocean tells a different story, one built not on light, but on heat, on chemistry, on transformation without radiance. The water becomes warmer in patches, not enough to comfort, but enough to notice. It doesn't come from above, it rises from below. Faint trails of heat, barely more than whispers, drift upward through the deep. And where they emerge, where the earth leaks its breath, life gathers. You approach a hydrothermal vent, black and unassuming from a distance. It looks like a chimney, built not by hands, but by the planet itself. Around its rim, pale smoke curls. Into the dark, it is not smoke in the air, but mineral-rich water, hot enough to burn, yet held together by the pressure around it. The sea does not boil here, though the heat would suggest it should. It simply allows. At first, the landscape appears barren. Then shapes begin to emerge, slow, soft, ghostly. Long white worms, with red plumes, wave gently in the current. They are rooted to the rock like flowers, but they are animals, not plants. Their plumes are not petals, but gills. And what they breathe is not air, it is sulfur. These are tubeworms, Riftia pachyptilla. They have no mouths, no digestive tracts. They do not feed in the way you understand. Inside their bodies live colonies of bacteria that convert chemicals into energy. Hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, oxygen, all mixed in a way that feels toxic at the surface. But here, it becomes nourishment. It becomes breath. This process is called chemosynthesis. It is the mirror of photosynthesis, where plants use light. To build sugars, these organisms use chemistry. No sun ever touches them, and yet they build, they grow, they multiply. Their world is dark, but their lives are luminous. You drift closer. The heat shimmers around you, invisible but real. The tube worms sway as one, responding to currents too subtle for your body to detect. Around them crawl crabs with translucent shells and pale legs, picking at the rock with care. They are not aggressive, they are precise. Small fish, shaped like shadows, pass between the vent spires. They do not flee, they do not approach. They move with the quiet certainty of creatures that belong here. You begin to feel like an intruder. Not unwelcome, just unfamiliar. The rock around the vents is covered with layers of mineral deposits, iron, copper, manganese. The water that pours from the Earth's crust brings these elements up, building chimneys higher with each passing year. These are growing structures. Not alive, but not static. They change with every breath the planet takes. You watch as bacteria form mats across the rocks. They shine faintly under your lights, not from luminescence, but from the density of life. These are microbial cities, vast and ancient, spreading across stone-like memory. They are the first settlers of this place, and perhaps the oldest. You realize they do not just live here, they create the foundation on which everything else depends. Further along, another kind of vent appears cooler, less dramatic. These are called cold seeps. They do not emit heat, but they release gases, and fluids rich in methane and hydrogen sulfide. And still, life gathers. Mussels cling to the stone, their shells stained with time. Inside them live more bacteria, feeding off chemical energy, turning what would be poison into sustenance. You pass a pale octopus wrapped gently around a rock. Its eyes reflect nothing. It sees in other ways. It does not need brightness. It reads the world through flow, temperature, taste. It remains still as you move past, content with its place. Nearby, long strands of bacteria trail in the water like silk. They feed on methane. They form chains, threads, colonies. Not beautiful. In the way coral reefs are beautiful, but mesmerizing, delicate, earned, built over time. You begin to realize that life here is not rare. It is abundant. Not in the way of forests or savannas, but in its own quiet way. Every inch of rock, every vent, every seep is covered with beings adapted to this specific balance of heat, pressure, and chemical exchange. It is a system of dependencies, a slow dance of needs and offerings. The longer you float here, the more it becomes clear. This is not a hostile place. It is precise. It asks for certain conditions, and within those, it provides everything. The organisms here are not lost. They are exactly where they are meant to be. You imagine a world that began like this, before leaves, before trees, before light poured across the surface. Deep below, in places like this, life may have taken its first breath not in sunlit pools, but in warm darkness. In minerals and steam and transformation, you hover near another cluster of tube worms. Their plumes wave slowly. You can almost hear them breathing. Not as lungs do, but as heat turning into energy, as sulfur turning into life. There is no waste. Here, every molecule finds purpose. You think of your own body, your own cells, the mitochondria that power each of them. Long ago, those organelles were separate beings, bacteria like these, living on their own, surviving in the early ocean. Then one day, they became part of something larger. They joined, they changed, and now they live inside you. It is humbling to trace your own existence back to places like this, to know that even in the absence of light, life not only begins, it flourishes, to know that survival is not about conquest, but about balance, about finding energy where others see emptiness. You begin to rise slowly again, the vents drifting below you like ancient towers. The warmth fades, the darkness returns, but the memory remains. You will not forget this place, its quiet resilience, its gentle complexity. And somewhere ahead, past the heat and the chemistry, lies fire, not sunlight, but volcanoes, not from the sky, but from the earth, rising up through water to build new worlds in silence. You move forward through darkness, carried now not by curiosity alone, but by something warmer, a subtle pulse rising from beneath the sea. The vents are behind you, but the heat remains in the water, held like breath between the folds of the ocean's crust. The silence thickens, the light dims further, but ahead you feel something stirring. Not life this time, land. The seafloor shifts as you descend along a ridge. It feels different here, sharper, younger. The sediment is thinner, scattered by unseen tremors. Beneath your path, magma slowly pushes toward the surface. You are entering a region of submarine volcanoes, where continents are shaped in the dark. There is no eruption, no ash, no smoke, but the rock beneath you holds fire. The water absorbs its violence, transforms its fury into something slow and glowing. The ocean does not resist the heat. It folds around it, contains it, controls it. Then, in the distance, you see it, a towering mound of new rock rising from the seafloor, its shape imperfect, uneven. It is not ancient, it is forming. You are witnessing creation not as a moment, but as a process, the slow exhale of a planet rebuilding itself from within. The volcano is not erupting now, but it breathes. Gases rise in bubbles from tiny cracks. Warm water seeps through fissures, rich with minerals. You drift closer, and the terrain changes again. Smooth lava curls across the ground like frozen waves. Black, shiny, unbroken in some places, shattered in others. These flows are called pillow lavas, formed when molten rock cools rapidly in water. They take on shapes like sleeping forms, round, swollen, gentle in appearance but forged in fire. They remind you that even the softest curves can be born from intense beginnings. You hover above a fresh rift where the ground has split. A line of steam drifts upward. Around the edges, you see bright colors, orange, yellow, red, staining the rock with the signatures of sulfur, iron, and copper. These are chemical footprints left behind by the Earth's molten breath. The temperature rises slightly, but not enough to harm. It is strange to feel warmth in a place so far from the sun, strange but comforting. A reminder that life does not begin only with light. It also begins with fire. You pass a vent field formed not by slow leaks, but by volcanic force. Here, black smokers rise like chimneys, spouting superheated plumes into the cold. The water coming from them is nearly 400 degrees Celsius, but it doesn't boil. The pressure holds it in place. The deep is a chamber where physics behaves like memory, quiet, weighty, patient. Around the base of the smokers, life pulses, not in crowds, but in forms so adapted, so specialized, they seem made for this exact second in time. Bacteria line the rocks, forming mats thick enough to ripple. Crabs with bristled legs step delicately across surfaces still cooling. Shrimp with no eyes cluster near the heat, guided by sensors along their shells. The contrast is striking life, crowding close to fire, thriving beside what should destroy. But that's the secret of this place. Destruction and creation are never separate. They spiral together, like currents feeding one another. A lava dome rises ahead, round and broken. At the peak, you can see steam escaping from its summit. Beneath the dome, new rock is forming, pushed upward, cooled by seawater, reshaped by tectonic stretch. You watch it settle, not realizing at first how slow everything here moves. But slow does not mean still. The world is changing. You are floating above a process so vast, your presence cannot interrupt it. The floor around you is scattered with volcanic glass, fragments of obsidian, brittle and sharp. Light from your vessel reflects in their edges, casting faint glints across the rocks. They do not shimmer like treasure. They reflect origin. They are pieces of the planet's first thoughts. A tremor rolls beneath you, soft but certain. The ground doesn't shake. It shifts a settling movement, like a deep breath released. You wait, then it passes. The sea returns to stillness. But you remember what it means. The earth speaks here not in noise, but in motion. You explore a fissure that stretches for kilometers, a crack in the crust where the planet opens itself. No flame spills out, only heat, only pressure. And within it, you glimpse microbes growing in the thinnest threads, forming the first scaffolds of life. These extremophiles need no comfort, no shelter. They ask for only what is already present: mineral, heat, time. The deeper you go, the more you understand that this place is not chaotic. It is measured. It is ordered by laws not written, but expressed in stone, in temperature, in density. The volcanoes beneath the waves are not accidents, They are sentences in the story of land itself. You float above a caldera, a collapsed crater formed after an eruption emptied its chamber. The edges fall inward, forming a quiet basin. It is not empty. Sediment collects at the bottom, forming layers that one day may rise again. Nothing here stays still forever. Even silence is temporary. All around you, water filters minerals through invisible networks, feeding unseen lives. The volcano gives not only heat, but structure. Without it, the ocean would be less than whole. Its fire is part of its balance. You drift alongside a wall of basalt columns, shaped into hexagonal pillars by the cooling of ancient flows. They rise like organ pipes from the sea floor, rigid yet elegant. Nature carves order from fire. Even chaos, given enough time, settles into form. A single fish moves across the basalt face, its body long and lean, its color muted. It doesn't rush, it doesn't linger. It passes like a thought. You follow it for a while, then let it vanish into shadow. Everything here knows how to disappear. You circle one last vent, not because it is different, but because it feels final. The gases rise slowly. The minerals coat the rocks like dust. You imagine this is what the early Earth looked like. Not empty, not dead. Just waiting, just preparing. You remember that the continents you walk on were built by places like this. That every mountain, every coastline, every valley once rose from water and fire. The surface is the child of the sea, and the sea is shaped by its burning core. Now the heat fades. The ground flattens again. The volcanoes lie behind you, still pulsing, still building. You leave them with reverence, not awe. They do not ask to be admired. They ask to be understood. And ahead, in a valley deeper than silence, something ancient waits. Not mountains but bones, not new life but death that feeds the volcano's fall. Behind you like fading embers, and in their place rises a stillness that feels vast in a different way. No more heat drifts through the current. The water cools again, thick with silence, holding a gravity that is not just physical, but emotional. You are entering a place where life meets death, not with fear, but with continuity. Ahead, the shape appears slowly. At first, it seems like a rock or a ridge, dark and unremarkable. Then, detail begins to form. Ribs, vertebrae, a skull half buried in silt. You are looking at the remains of a whale, once a giant of the open sea, now a monument in the deep, a whale fall. Its body has become a landscape. Around the bones, life gathers like wind around trees. Worms with feathery bristles wave in clusters. Rooted in flesh, long vanished. Crabs scuttle between sockets and joints. Small fish hover, dart, disappear. This is not a ruin. It is a forest made of calcium and memory. The first time a whale sinks, it arrives whole body intact, heavy with fat and purpose. Its descent is slow, a final gesture returned to the deep. When it lands, the sea responds immediately. Scavengers arrive, stripping meat with precision. Hagfish, epauts, and amphipods work without sound or conflict. There is no waste, there is only transformation. What remains after days becomes sustenance for years. Microbes bloom in layers, feeding on oils embedded in bone. They attract other lives, clams that filter, bacteria that digest sulfur, snails that glide without eyes. The skeleton becomes an ecosystem. One life feeds hundreds. One death builds community. You drift above the ribcage, and it looks like a fallen cathedral. Arches stretch wide, dusted with sediment, glowing softly under your light. You are not afraid. You feel welcomed. This is not a place of mourning. It is a place of continuation. Each bone is marked with textures, tiny trails, left by worms, thin coatings of bacterial mats, grooves shaped by years of slow erosion. Nothing remains untouched. Even decay is shared. Even stillness becomes fertile. Nearby, a smaller carcass rests. A dolphin, perhaps. Its form less preserved, more scattered. And yet life still gathers. The rules here are not about size, but availability. The deep does not discriminate. It receives what comes. It makes use of what remains. A brittle star crawls along a jawbone, its arms folding and unfolding like ribbons in slow current. Its path is neither direct nor aimless. It searches for what has been left behind, a molecule of fat, a pocket of bacteria, a speck of sustenance. Invisible to you. It will find enough. It always does. In another corner, a zombie worm blooms. Its pink plumes rise like soft flames, delicate yet enduring. It has no mouth, no stomach. It bores into bone and houses bacteria that break fat down into food. Together they survive. Alone they would not. Cooperation is survival's currency here. You pause over the skull. The eye sockets are empty, but they do not feel hollow. They gaze upward, always upward, not with longing, but with memory, as if the sea itself remembers the life that once swam high above, that once breathed air, that once sang. And now, those songs have become soil. A field of bone lilies spreads beside the whale's spine, long tubed worms with crowns of red. They pulse gently, filtering the water for what cannot be seen. You imagine them as flowers, as roots, as nerves extending from the bones into the ocean. They do not speak, they bloom. Each whale fall follows a pattern. First, the scavengers, then the enrichment stage, as microbes digest the fats that linger deep in bone. Then the reef stage, when hard structures become homes. And finally, the legacy stage, when only dust remains, but the community continues elsewhere. You realize you're floating in a cycle, not a graveyard. a beginning hidden inside an ending. A shark passes, slowly, not hunting, just moving through, its body dark, its eyes unreadable. It does not linger, it does not disrupt, it acknowledges the space and moves on. Respect is unspoken here. The current shifts, lifting a thin cloud of silt. It rolls across the bones like a veil for a moment. Everything softens, blurs, fades. Then the water settles, and the forms return, steady as before. This is how memory works, in the deep, not fixed, but returning. In the distance, another whale lies in earlier decay. Flesh still clings to the frame. Its presence is louder, more pungent in the water. Larger predators circle it, still sleeper sharks, ratfish, long-bodied eels. You do not move closer, not out of fear, but out of respect. That forest is still. Becoming, you wonder how many whalefalls are hidden across the ocean floor, hundreds, perhaps thousands, each one a secret forest. Each one a cradle of life, built from quiet surrender. They do not announce themselves. They do not last forever. But while they remain, they transform everything around them. You begin to move again, slowly, not to leave, but to follow the current. The whale fades behind you, but its presence lingers. You feel changed, not in thought, but in rhythm. Something about the deep teaches you to move slower, to need less, to listen more. The landscape flattens, bones disappear, silence returns, but it feels different now. Not empty, full, filled with the echoes of transformation, the warmth of shared existence. You rise slightly, carried by a current that does not hurry. Below you, the last traces of the whale vanish into darkness, into time. But the life it gave remains, and ahead, deeper still, lies a place where time slows, even further, where silence is no longer absence but presence. You are ready to enter it. You move deeper into stillness. Not toward a place, but into a feeling. The water thickens around you. Not in texture, in tone. The world begins to feel heavier, not in pressure, but in meaning. Each meter down feels like stepping through a quieter version of time. You are no longer floating through the ocean. You are floating through memory. There is no sound here. Not even the murmur of distant currents. No clicks from whales. No chatter from shrimp. Just a vast, unbroken quiet that surrounds you completely. And slowly, you realize silence down here is not what's missing. It's what remains. Your thoughts begin to stretch. Each one takes longer to arrive, then longer still to leave. The rhythm of your mind matches the water, unhurried, continuous, patient. You are being reshaped by slowness, taught to think in pauses rather than punctuation. The darkness does not press in, it opens. Without light, your attention deepens. Every flicker of movement becomes important. Every breath feels longer, more deliberate. You are not cold, but the temperature holds no warmth. It does not comfort, but it does not reject you either. It allows. Beneath you lies a flat stretch of abyssal plain, so wide it seems to have no edges. It is the floor of the world, formed by dust that has settled for millions of years. Each grain is ancient. Each layer is a chapter. Nothing here moves quickly, yet everything changes. The silence here is not passive. It holds stories. It holds weight. It presses against your chest like a memory you didn't know you carried. It feels familiar, but you can't name why. You pass over a field of manganese nodules, small, round rocks that form over millions of years, collecting metals atom by atom. They do not grow in bursts. They accrete slowly, silently, never in haste. They are proof that even without motion, creation continues. A sea cucumber glides below you, soft and slow, leaving a faint trail in the silt. It disturbs nothing. It moves as if time itself has thinned. You watch it for minutes. It seems to notice nothing, yet it belongs here in a way you do not. You begin to hear your own body, not literally, but in the way your awareness turns inward. Your heartbeat, your breathing, the tiny twitches of your thoughts, they seem louder now. Not intrusive, but bright in contrast to the deep. The quiet teaches you that noise is not needed to understand. That some truths are only spoken in silence. That listening is not always about ears, but about attention. You begin to listen to the water itself. There is movement here, but not of creatures. It is the slow shifting of plates, the grind of rock beneath silt, the sediment rearranging itself grain by grain. It is the tectonic whisper of the earth's skeleton. It moves at the speed of countenance. A long shadow passes below. Not a predator, not a friend. Just something moving through, following its own path, unaware of your gaze. It leaves no trail. It makes no sound. You wonder if that is the deepest kind of existence, to move through the world without altering it. In this silence, emotion begins to surface. Not joy, not fear, but something quieter. Something like reverence. You are not meant to speak here. You are meant to witness. Above you, the surface is more than 10 kilometers away. It may as well be the sky. Down here, there is no reference to up or down. No light to orient yourself. Only the weight of everything you are not. And yet, you feel peaceful. You find a small ridge, barely a rise in the plain, where sponges grow pale, branching, almost skeletal. They filter water endlessly, patient and soft. They have no eyes, no mouths, no hearts, yet they live. Their stillness is not empty. It is steady. Around their base, brittle stars drift like fallen petals. They curl and uncurl, responding to currents too small for your instruments. Their movements are unmeasured but meaningful. You cannot guess their intentions, but you can sense their place. Silence here does not separate things, it binds them. You think of all the places on earth where silence is feared, where it's filled with distraction or noise to cover it up. But here, it is not emptiness, it is presence. The quiet holds more than the loud ever could. The longer you remain, the more your thoughts soften. They don't vanish. They slow. They find shape in pause. You begin to understand that not everything must be named. Some things are simply felt. Some experiences are beyond words, not because they are complex, but because they are complete without them. You watch as a single particle falls from above. One piece of marine snow, dead plankton, dust, organic drift. It floats with purpose. Not because it knows, but because gravity gives it meaning. It will feed something below. Not much, but enough. It takes days for particles like this to reach the bottom. Thousands fall every minute, each one fragile, each one essential. This is how the abyss lives, not on storms or harvests, but on quiet, falling memory. You realize the silence here is not only outside you, it is inside you now. Something has been hushed that you didn't know was loud. Some part of your thinking that never stopped now still. You remain motionless for a long time. The minutes stretch, the boundaries blur. You are not bored. You are not waiting. You are simply here, existing in a space where nothing demands anything from you. Then, gently, a new sound arrives. It is not loud, not sudden. It feels more like vibration than volume. A deep tremble in the crust below. A song not sung, but played through stone. The sound of shifting fault lines, of plates adjusting, of continents streaming. The ocean hears it. And so do you. The silence doesn't break, it deepens. The vibration becomes rhythm, a music older than melody, a reminder that even here, beneath stillness, something stirs. You don't turn toward it. You don't need to. You let the sound pass through you like light through deep water. And ahead, not far now, you will meet creatures who do not need vision. For they see what light never reveals in darkness. Evolution has written another kind of sight. The silence hums behind you, still present, like an echo that refuses to fade. But now your attention shifts. You begin to sense motion in the shadows. Not large creatures, not loud. Just flickers, slight bends in the black. You've entered a place where vision must evolve to mean something more. In this absence of light, the rules of sight have changed. The eyes that once chased brightness now reach for something else, the hint of contrast, the trace of glow, the pattern within darkness. Some creatures have given up on vision entirely. Others have sharpened it into something strange and delicate. You drift beside a lanternfish, small and silver, trailing faint pulses of blue along its side. Its photophores blink in patterns, not random, not decorative. They are language, they are lure, they are camouflage. The fish glows not to be seen, but to disappear. By matching the faint glimmers from above, it erases its shadow, hiding from eyes below. Another passes, slightly larger, its body curved, like a comma in motion. Its eyes are enormous, round as coins, reflecting back the faintest traces of your light. They are built not to see clearly, but to gather everything. Any photon that dares to wander is caught, pulled inward, studied. It survives by seeing what almost isn't there. Deeper still, a hatchetfish glides past, its body flattened, mirror-like. Its glow is subtle, barely perceptible, but its eyes are tilted upward, always watching the thinning light from above. It does not blink. It waits. It knows that here, patience is vision's best ally. Not all see with eyes. Some detect light through skin, through receptors tuned to specific wavelengths. Others feel movement, map vibrations, read the temperature of a ripple. To survive in the dark, some gave up seeing in the way you understand it and chose to interpret instead. You pass a dragonfish, jaw unhinged, teeth like pins of glass. It carries a small red light beneath its chin, unusual in the deep, where most glow blue or green. Red light travels poorly underwater, but here, that is an advantage. Its prey cannot see red. To the dragonfish, it is a flashlight. To everything else, it is invisible. Its eyes are tuned to this secret color. Not by magic, but by adaptation, by time, by pressure sculpting need into form. You realize that in the deep, seeing is not about vision. It's about perception, interpretation, sensitivity. A shrimp drifts by, eyes perched on long stalks, wide, apart, scanning not for images, but for shadows. It's enough. Shadows are stories down here. You approach a squid, small and graceful, one eye larger than the other, not by accident. Each eye is tuned differently, the smaller one scans faint. Light from above, the larger scans darkness below. Together, they create a picture stitched from contrast. Evolution has given it a split view of the world, not symmetrical, but complete. You begin to sense that darkness is not empty. It is full of signals, just not the kind your surface eyes were made for. Down here, light is currency, and every glow, every reflection, every pulse has cost. Some species pulse with rhythm, flashing in coded bursts. Others remain dim until disturbed. Some pulse constantly, mapping the world like sonar, except with photons. A single flicker can warn or invite, attract or terrify. You think of how much energy it takes to produce light in this place. No sun fuels these glows. They are made within the body from chemical reactions crafted carefully through generations. Bioluminescence, a gift from bacteria, inherited and repurposed. Some creatures carry glowing symbionts, microbes that shine on their behalf. Others produce the light themselves, inside specialized organs. It is light not borrowed, but built. A jellyfish floats above you, its bell pulsing softly. With each movement, streaks of light ripple down its tentacles. It doesn't chase, it doesn't flee, it performs. You realize this light may not serve survival at all. It may serve wonder. Even in the deep, beauty persists. You hover in one place, allowing the lights to pass around you like stars. Not scattered at random, but part of patterns too vast to grasp in one glance. This is not blindness. This is another way of seeing. You close your eyes for a moment, letting your other senses extend. You begin to understand what the creatures here already know, that light is just one way to feel the world. And soon you will meet one that has never seen its own kind. Never needed to, for solitude is its inheritance and waiting. Its companion, the lights have faded again, like distant lanterns slipping behind curtains. The flickers are fewer here. Even the watchers, those great eyes tuned to shadows, have gone still. You are entering a deeper quiet now, not of sound, but of company. There is no crowd here, no flock, no school, just distance. It is not empty, but it is lonely. You move through a slow, suspended space, and in the stillness ahead, a shape begins to form. It is not impressive in size, not glowing, not armored, just a thin form hovering close to the bottom, curved slightly, barely moving. This is a fish, a deep-sea creature known not for how it looks, but for how it lives, entirely alone. The fish has no name, it knows. It was found by instruments, studied in footage, but never touched, never followed for long. Its kind is rare, not rare in numbers, rare in contact. For all we know, this fish may spend its entire life without meeting another of its species. It may live, feed, drift, and die without company, and yet it survives. Its body is adapted to patience. Its muscles are soft, conserving energy. Its mouth opens slowly, waiting for what the current brings. It does not chase, it does not fight. It drifts, and when food arrives, it feeds. No schools, no herds, no flashes of color for mating displays. Reproduction here is a mystery, perhaps. They spawn and never meet again. Perhaps they release signals that only one other hears. Or perhaps they simply wait years, maybe decades, for a single encounter. You watch as it turns, slowly, as if stirred by thought rather than need. It does not notice you, or if it does, it offers no reaction. In this depth, instinct runs deeper than curiosity. You wonder what it means to never see your own kind, to never hear a call answered, to exist only in the rhythm of water and need. Is that loneliness, or is that just life in a place that has shaped solitude into survival? The fish moves again, a slow circle, then pauses. You imagine its world unchanging terrain, pressure constant, temperature stable, no sunrise, no season. A world where nothing interrupts the stillness, where memory is not measured in events, but in patterns of drift and feeding. It is a hard thing to survive this way, yet this fish is not fragile. It is precisely what the deep demanded. Nothing more, nothing wasted. You drift beside it, careful not to disturb the water. For a brief moment, you share the same space. Two lives, entirely different, floating in parallel. No recognition, no bond. but still a kind of silent kinship, shaped by the same abyss. Then, as if on cue, it vanishes into the dark. Not in speed, not in panic. It simply becomes part of the water again, as if it was never there, as if its presence was only a thought. You look ahead, but nothing follows. No trail, no shadow, only the stillness returns. But now it feels different. Not colder, not emptier, just honest. Some creatures in the deep were never meant to gather. They are written in solitude. Their biology tells the story: slow metabolisms, long lifespans, minimal interaction. They are made to last, not to connect. You move forward, slower now, as if out of respect. Around you, the sea floor rises in gentle slopes. No cliffs, no trenches, just folds of earth shaped by time and weight. A quiet landscape for quiet lives. You wonder how many such fish exist, unseen, untouched, each carrying out a quiet existence in the folds of the earth, their presence barely noticed, their purpose not questioned. You begin to realize that loneliness is not the same as absence. The fish you saw was not waiting to be found. It was complete, even alone. And perhaps, in the deepest dark, there are lives that never seek reflection, only continuation, only stillness, only the next breath. The water is still. The world below rests in patient silence. You move gently across the seafloor, passing ridges, smoothed by centuries, valleys etched by pressure and time. Everything here has been shaped slowly, untouched by haste. But then something appears that does not belong. It is small, fluttering slightly in the current. A pale thread. You drift. Closer. It does not dissolve. It does not breathe. It does not age in the way the deep understands age. It is a piece of plastic. It lies against the silt, crumpled like discarded skin. It has no weight here, yet it rests heavily. Around it, the water holds still, as if reluctant to touch. It is not native, not born of salt or stone. It is a visitor from far above, fallen. Like a forgotten thought, you begin to see more. A bottle cap lodged between rocks. A plastic bag caught in the arm of a sponge. Thin fibers tangled with deep sea worms. The ocean has carried these things from surface to shadow, and now they lie in places where no human has ever set foot. You feel the contradiction, how something so light could sink so far, how something so recent could touch something so ancient. The abyss was once a world apart, insulated by depth, but nothing stays separate, not forever. Microplastics drift like snowflakes, invisible but constant. Creatures filter them unknowingly. Bacteria colonize them. They become part of the food chain, not by invitation, but by persistence. The ocean is vast, but not invulnerable. You watch as a translucent shrimp feeds beside a sliver of plastic. Its movements are careful. It cannot tell the difference. To it, all matter is matter. There is no warning label, no barrier, just shapes in water. A fish swims past, its gut already filled with fragments. It does not choke, it does not starve immediately, but something has shifted inside it. The harm is quiet, slow, cumulative, like a whisper that never stops. You think of the path. These plastics took a wrapper dropped on a sidewalk, a net cut loose from a boat, a thread of synthetic fabric washed from a machine. None of them intended for this place, yet all of them arrived. The deep remembers. It collects what the surface discards. It stores it in its folds, in its trenches, in the mouths of fish and the guts of worms. It does not complain, but it does not forget. Somewhere nearby, a ghost net drapes across the rocks like a torn veil. It sways with the current, still catching. It traps nothing now but silence. No longer hunting, no longer useful, just present, just enduring. You wonder how long it will last. The Kajas, centuries. The deep has always known decay, but this, it cannot process. These materials resist time. They outlive purpose. You feel the weight of that, not physical, but moral. The ocean accepted what we gave it, not with consent, but with consequence. And yet, even here, life adapts. Bacteria grow on plastic, breaking it down slowly. Crabs use bottle fragments as shelter. Worms burrow into foam. It is not acceptance, it is survival. But it proves that even in pollution, life finds a way to endure. You drift past a child's toy, a small, cracked figure, unrecognizable. It floats gently, face down, half buried. It shouldn't be here, but it is. It followed the current, passed through currents and gyres, through light and storm, until it sank. And now it rests on a seabed older than language. No creature will play with it, no hand will lift it. It will crumble slowly, molecule by molecule, becoming part of the sediment. The line between natural and artificial blurs, not because the deep accepts the artificial, but because the artificial will not leave. You rise slightly, moving with the slow swell of a current. More particles drift by, some natural, some not. You no longer try to count them. You begin to see them as part of the story now. Not welcome, not neutral, just real. And in that truth lies a kind of responsibility, to see clearly, to name without denial, to recognize that even the most untouched places are not untouched anymore. The deep is not ours, but it carries our memory. And ahead, the sea floor begins to tremble, not with rage, but with rhythm. The earth speaks again, this time in movement. The water thickens with quiet, but not the kind you've come to expect. This quiet is deeper, not silence, but pressure, not stillness, but anticipation. The sea floor lies below like an ancient drumhead stretched over hidden motion. The earth is about to hum. It begins softly, a pulse, not sound exactly, but vibration. It travels through water like a thought through bone. You don't hear it. You feel it, a tremble that passes through your ribs, through the hull of your shelter, through the slow rhythm of your blood. Somewhere far beneath the sediment, two tectonic plates shift. They do not crack or clash. They slide. One curls beneath another. The movement is small by the standards of countenance. But here, in the quiet deep, it feels immense. You hover in place as the tremor passes through you. You are not in danger, but you are not untouched. The water stirs in long waves. Particles rise from the floor and drift like breath exhaled by the earth itself. You are listening to a planet in motion. Around you, nothing panics. Creatures do not flee. They feel this often. The ocean floor is not still. It shifts constantly, slowly building and releasing tension. The deep does not fear this song. It grew up with it. A ridge rises ahead, dark and jagged, shaped by countless such movements. The rocks are sharp, broken, scattered. They tell the story of forces at work for millions of years. Not all earthquakes come from sudden breaks. Some come from long, low dances between masses of stone. Hydrophones dropped into trenches have recorded these vibrations, not just sharp cracks, but long, low notes that sound like moans, like breathing, like deep music. The ocean floor sings in infrasound, notes too low for human ears, but perfectly tuned for whales and waves. You press gently against the current, letting it carry you across the fracture zone. The rocks beneath you are still, trembling slightly, like a memory replaying itself through stone. There is no fire here, not yet. No eruption, just slow change. Pressure released in pulses. It is the earth adjusting its weight, rebalancing its skin. And you, a visitor from the surface, are here to feel it happen. Another tremor arrives, shorter. This time, but more textured. It rolls rather than jolts. A kind of underwater thunder, without storm, without sky. The deep accepts it, does not resist. You wonder how many times this floor has broken and healed. How many ridges are just scars. You pass over a crack, not wide, but deep. You shine your light inside. It disappears into blackness. Somewhere down there, magma pulses, waiting for an invitation. It may rise tomorrow. It may sleep for centuries. It is never gone. The crust here is thin. The pressure above balances the pressure within. Volcanic ridges, fault lines, spreading. Zones they all live in the deep. The seafloor is not passive. It is active, reshaping the map below, while the world above forgets to look. You drift farther. The seafloor begins to hum again. This one is longer, more resonant. Your instruments catch the frequency, a slow, rhythmic throb, like a drum played at the bottom of the ocean. You are no longer hearing the sound of rock breaking. You are hearing the song of plates sliding. These tremors are not just geological. They are musical. They produce harmonics that ring across the water column. Some fish use them to navigate. Some creatures nest in the quiet zones between tremors. Life does not just survive here, it listens. You realize you are listening to, not just with ears, but with presence, with stillness. The deep has taught you that not all understanding comes through noise. Some comes through vibration, through pressure, through rhythm. The tremor fades again. The water returns to its slow drift, but something remains. A residue of motion, a vibration in memory. You imagine the earth as a sleeping giant, turning slowly beneath a blanket of water. Each shift is a sigh, each quake a dream spoken aloud. You rise gently above the ridge. The landscape spreads again, flat, wide, filled with soft slopes and quiet shadows. The tremors are gone for now, but you know they will return. Not as warnings, but as reminders that nothing stays still, not even here. You begin to understand why seismologists drop their instruments into these trenches. The earth speaks here more clearly than anywhere else. There is no traffic, no wind, no noise from above, just rock, water, and motion. And then you see it, a faint shimmer in the distance. A flicker of motion, not like before. Not tectonic, organic, something rising. Slowly, not with urgency, but with purpose. The silence becomes softer for your journey, is no longer downward. Now, you begin to rise, but you do not leave the deep unchanged. You begin to rise. Not fast, not eager, just steady, like a thought returning from somewhere deep inside the mind. The pressure around you begins to loosen, fraction by fraction, but you feel no relief. Instead, you feel a kind of reluctance, as if the ocean is gently releasing you, but not forgetting you. The seafloor slowly falls away beneath you, not because it moves, but because you are leaving it behind. The trenches and ridges, the scars and folds of rock, begin to fade into distance. What once felt infinite now feels like memory vast, intact, but behind you. Every meter upward carries weight, not of water, but of meaning. You are bringing something. With you, not samples or footage, not data or debris, but presence. The quiet has become part of your thinking. The stillness lives in your chest. The darkness, too, begins to shift. Not with color, not yet, but with subtle gradients. Black becomes charcoal, charcoal becomes slate. You are rising into shades rather than light. Nothing is sudden. Everything unfolds, slowly, like a curtain parting inch by inch. Around you, creatures begin to return. Not many, not close, but more frequent now, a long-bodied eel winding through the water, a drifting jellyfish casting threads behind it like echoes. Their movements are familiar now. You know their language. They pass without concern. Above, something flickers, faint, indistinct, a pale bloom, barely different from the dark. It is not the sun, not yet, but it is the idea of it, a hint that somewhere beyond, brightness waits. You rise toward it like a question, reaching for an answer. With distance, the pressure changes. It does not vanish. It reshapes. Your body adjusts. Your thoughts stretch differently. Down below, thoughts felt slow, long, rounded. Up here, they start to sharpen again. Edges return, but you resist the speed. You hold onto the rhythm the deep gave you. Memories begin to arrange themselves, not in order, not in facts, in sensations. The texture of silent water, the weight of distant movement, the way light feels when it doesn't come from above. Each level you pass holds a chapter. You remember the twilight zone, where creatures glowed like scattered stars. You remember the pitch of total black, the hush that sang instead of shouted. You remember the fish that floated without ever finding a friend. You remember the plastic threads, drifting like regrets. You are not alone. Other voices begin to join the water. Not human, not loud. Just patterns, the clicks of squid, the long, low tones of distant whales, the shimmer of fins brushing plankton clouds. The ocean is not welcoming you. It is simply continuing. You are moving through its story, no longer watching from stillness, but flowing with motion again. As you pass into the bathypelagic's thinning grip, you feel the gravity of your experience shift. What was once exploration has become reflection. You are not here to find more. You are here to carry what you've already found. Upward, the world becomes less strange, but not less beautiful. A school of flashlight fish glides by in formation, blinking in patterns that suggest intelligence, or at least agreement. Their light is not decoration, it is intention. You admire them then. Let them pass. You reach the twilight again, the mesopelagic, that place between seeing and not seeing. It feels different now. On the way down, it felt mysterious. On the way back, it feels like memory revisited, like the hallway outside a room you once lived. You pause here for just a moment. Let your body adjust. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts collect around you like gentle currents. You know you are rising, but part of you still sinks inward. The surface is still far, still imagined, but you know it's there. You don't rush toward it. You ascend like a thought finishing its arc. You pass another jelly, large and domed, trailing filaments so thin they seem imagined. It pulses once, then vanishes behind you. You don't chase it. There is no need. Your ascent is not escape. It is return. And even as you return, you do not shed what you've seen. You keep it with you, the layers, the creatures, the silences. They do not pull you down. They move with you, like stories remembered in the quiet moments of waking. The water begins to shift again, not in color, not yet, in clarity, in feel. The texture changes. The dark loosens. Shadows gain shape. A faint blue emerges above. The first true signal of daylight. It feels foreign now. Not unkind, but unfamiliar. Your eyes adjust. Your mind does not rush. The sunlight is filtered, soft, as if trying not to overwhelm. It meets you like an old friend, cautious and curious. You do not reach for it. You let it arrive. And now, as your journey nears the upper layers, you realize the deep did not teach you facts. It taught you presence. It taught you the patience of pressure, the value of silence, the rhythm of things that move without hurry. You carry those things like warmth, even as the water cools with light. Now, the world around you is filled with life again. Shoals of silver fish flicker below. Currents twist like ribbons. Particles catch the sun in suspended spirals. You break into the photic zone. Light now surrounds you. The blue is wide, soft, moving. You are back in the realm of color and heat and motion, but you feel no urgency. You drift, and in drifting, you begin to remember who you were before the descent. But you are not that person anymore. You are made of what you witnessed. The breathless hush, the ancient silence, the living dark. You are composed now of slower thoughts, longer pauses, deeper noticing. The surface is near. You feel its pull, not like gravity, but like memory rising toward voice. And before you break through, you realize something simple and immense. The deep did not leave you. It followed you upward quietly, completely. The surface welcomes you without sound. You break through with barely a ripple. The light all around you now warm, golden, gentle. The sky arches. Above, open and endless. The air wraps itself around your skin like a forgotten language. For a moment, you are still, neither below nor above. Between, your eyes adjust to a brightness you had forgotten existed. The sun feels unfamiliar on your face, like a voice you used to know. Clouds drift slowly, as if unsure of your return. You breathe, and the breath carries weight, not of exhaustion, but of understanding. You float in stillness, listening. The waves lap gently, a soft percussion against your ears. But your thoughts remain tuned to a deeper rhythm. Even here, beneath this open sky, you still carry the quiet of the deep. It echoes in your body, in the calm behind your thoughts, in the way you blink more slowly, the way you listen without expecting answers. You realize you have not left the deep. You have brought it with you. The creatures you met, the pressure you felt, the dark that taught you to see without light, all of it lives in you now. Not as memory, but as presence. The descent was never about reaching a place. It was about becoming something new. Above you, seabirds call and drift across the wind. Their cries seem distant, more decorative than essential. You are no longer seeking noise. You are watching the way light touches water, the way the sky holds space. In the distance, a boat moves slowly across the horizon. It feels fragile now. You see it not as a destination, but as an object adrift. You are in no rush to reach it. There is no urgency. Time is not chasing you. You think of the Hadal trenches, how they waited without complaint, how they held life without needing to be seen. You think of the plastic threads tangled like forgotten regrets. You think of the fish that lived without ever finding another. You realize now that you were never watching them. You were meeting them. They were never far from you. They were part of your world all along, unseen but not absent. And more than that, you realize something deeper. You were never alone. Not when the light faded. Not when the pressure closed in. Not when the silence swallowed your voice. You were surrounded not by noise or language or touch, but by presence. The ocean held you. Its life brushed against your path. Its memory whispered along your skin. Even in the darkest places, something was always near. Even in the deepest silence, something was always listening. The deep does not speak in words. It speaks in temperature shifts, in current patterns, in vibrations too low to hear. It speaks in stillness, in endurance, in the soft insistence of life continuing despite everything. And now, as you lie on your back, drifting beneath the soft sky, you feel something rise within you, not pride, not triumph, gratitude, quiet and full. You are grateful for what you saw, for what saw you, for what carried you without asking anything in return. The ocean never demanded explanation. It only offered space. It let you enter, let you linger, let you leave, but not unchanged. You close your eyes. Behind your lids, you still see bioluminescence blinking in rhythm. Still feel the low hum of tectonic plates shifting beneath the silent floor. Still taste the weight of salt held for centuries in cold water. You remember the jellyfish that lit its own path, the dragonfish with its invisible red light, the bacteria that fed on poison and made life possible in the absence of the sun. You remember not just the facts, but the feeling of drifting through. Wonder, you exhale. The sky remains vast, but it no longer feels empty. You think of other worlds, stars, planets, dust floating in cosmic black, and wonder if they too hold silence like this, pressure like this, life that does not need to speak to be felt. Perhaps the deep taught you more than about oceans. Perhaps it taught you how to exist without needing to explain, how to be still, how to wait, how to listen, and how to return not as you were, but as something shaped by depth. The water rocks you gently. It does not push you back to shore. It lets you drift. You understand now that the surface is not the end. It is only another beginning. You have risen through darkness, through memory, through silence and sound. And now you carry the deep inside you, not like a story retold, but like a breath held, quietly beneath your ribs, like a rhythm, like a second heart. The sun warms your face, the sky watches in stillness, and you, now filled with the ocean's secret language, float between two worlds, no longer searching, no longer alone,